93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. Head to netsuite.com/wolf for a special one-of-a-kind financing offer. That's netsuite.com/wolf, netsuite.com/wolf.
Hey, Jordan Belfort here, the Wolf of Wall Street in the Wolf's Den. It's a stormy Wolf's Den today, so it's going to be, you'll see this later on, but just to let you know, if you look out the window here, right, this is like pre-Hurricane Ian, which is going to hit here, I think, tonight or tomorrow, so it should be fucking cool, right? But anyway, I have a great podcast today. It's interesting. It's really congruent with the direction I'm taking my podcast, which is, focusing on, entrepreneurship, money-making opportunities, things like that. Calling people out in their bullshit when I have to, right? But in terms of, I've always said that I believe that, the best way to make money is to own your own business. I've always believed that. And I've always owned my own businesses my whole life. I never worked for someone except for a very short period of time when I was in the process of learning something. If I needed to learn it, how to do something, then I would do it with 3-4 months mindset that I was going to leave and start my own business, right? Since I'm very young. The problem with starting your own business is very risky, right? It doesn't always work out. In fact, a lot of new businesses fail. So one of the possibilities is franchising, to essentially have someone hand you a business model that shows you everything to do from A to Z, and it increases your likelihood of success significantly, right? So the guests I have on today focus on that business. They help match people of all ages, people generally, that are in the professional world, successful already, meaning they're mid to upper level management, have a few dollars of savings behind them, but they're sick of the corporate rat race. They want to be in business for themselves, but they're not quite sure how to get there to make the leap from being an employee to being an owner. And to me, it makes a lot of sense that if it's the right opportunity, that a franchise could make sense, because a lot of people I know that own franchises, they don't own just one. They'll own like 10 of the same franchise, and that's how they really make money over time, by scaling up. Sometimes a franchise can be buying yourself a job, and that's not terrible either. But I think, I'd like to see some opportunities here for people listening where it's not just buying yourself a job, but where you can actually build a real business around yourself, leverage your time, and eventually be able to live the life that you want, not just to work for a living, but to live a life, right? So that being said, name of the company that's here today is Franchise Playbook. Two guys, very sharp young guys. Dan Claps, Derek Santos. I keep confusing you two, by the way. I'm Derek, Dan, whatever. Right? Anyway, but, excuse me.
Similar color shirts.
Exactly, right there. You're fucking with me, right? Anyway, so we're here, stormy days today. How are you guys doing?
Good.
You guys are brave for flying down here. You flew down from New York, right?
Yeah. Yesterday.
That's where the company's located, right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested. This is the reason I wanted you on the podcast here, is because I love the idea that you're helping people who are in the rat race get out of the rat race.
Yeah.
I just really, now there's some exceptions to this. Like, for example, if you're in the brokerage, the financial service sector, very often it makes sense to work at a big company because you're leveraging up their balance sheet, certain products they have, the clout they have. So it's like almost you own your own business within their business, right? But that's, I think, the exception to the rule. Like, if you're working in a manufacturing plant and you're in mid-level management, you really have nowhere to go. It's not like there's an advantage to that, unless you have a very special operator guy owning the company who's creating opportunity for people in the middle ranks, right? So, let's start by explaining to me, like, who typically are the people, the clients first, that come to you or that you go out and seek, that end up buying franchises and succeeding?
Yeah, our client is pretty specific. So it's usually, you've mentioned a lot about what they're looking for. They crave to have more freedom in their life, whether it's more money, more time with their family, less travel. They want to do what they want to do, and their job is not allowing them to have that freedom. So our client is typically an executive. They're managing people, they're managing process, they're heading up sales or operations, and they want to transition out of that into business ownership without all the risks of maybe starting something on their own, and the likelihood of failing is a little higher. Whereas a franchise, they're buying into a proven playbook, if you will, or system that they can execute.
What is? Do you have the numbers on that? What is that? I mean, I didn't want to. I was going to spit out the number in the intro, but like I come through as a lot of the statistics that you grew up hearing are bullshit. Like, 9 out of 10 new businesses fail. Do you know what the real number is?
Yeah, so I know what the number that's
In the first year, that is.
yeah, that's stated is there's an SBA. I think the SBA is the company that put it together. 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years.
But is that a number that is the SBA's number from those who take SBA loans, or just general speaking?
I think it's a combination of the SBA and a couple other resources. I don't know the exact, so I'm going to be candid in that.
Right.
But the number I hear is 80% of small business fail within the first 5 years.
So let's just say it's fair to say that a lot of small businesses don't make it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know what the number is, but it's certainly probably greater than 50%, not 100%. It's probably 7 out of 10 end up failing in the first 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough, right? And the idea would be that, and this makes sense, that if you buy a franchise and someone's handing you the franchise playbook or the playbook for that business, right? It has to increase your chances of success, right?
Yeah, they say 90% of, so franchise is the opposite. 90% succeed.
Got it.
And they don't fail.
Fair enough, right? So what you're doing basically, when you buy a franchise, you're flipping the odds in your favor dramatically if you're a business owner, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, there's a business owner or a franchisor, the guy or girl that started the franchise system. They went out, they painted houses, they figured out how to get leads, they figured out how to hire salespeople. They made a system up, and they know how to do it, and they can replicate it. But instead of them going to another market and doing themselves, they find a franchise owner who could be involved and follow that process too. Mm-hmm. So the chance of success is a lot higher.
Right. Fair enough.
And we've taken it a step further by, there's over 4,000 franchises. We narrowed it down to which ones we think are the best. We review FDDs, make sure the franchise disclosure document, and then from there kind of put together the best list to show our clients.
Fair enough. So, obviously, all franchise opportunities are not created equal, right? There's some probably really great ones and some really shitty ones. Generally speaking, out of the 4,000, I know you've narrowed it to your 500, but how many of the 4,000 would you say just complete and utter bullshit?
Well, I think an interesting stat is that out of the 4,000, there's 300 new ones every year. 300 new franchise options come out a year.
And how many die? Stop? Don't keep current their documents or stop selling new.
What I can tell you is this: you need 100 units to be successful as a franchisor to be profitable, and I think it takes the average franchisor 10 years to get to 100 units. So those ones, they die. They need to get to 100 units quickly, and that's where we come in, because what we do is we find great executives that want to own a business, and we put them into the right franchise. We help that franchise get to 100 units, and then they can continue to grow.
Why is 100 units the magic number?
So it comes down to the amount of people that you need. Well, first of all, if you look at the royalty revenue, so for anyone that's listening, a franchise makes their money off the royalty, off the gross sales. So I'm a franchisor. I open a painting franchise. Derek opens up a location. I'm making a percentage of his gross sales. With 100 locations, it adds up to a number that comes into probably typically the millions in revenue, and you're able to then cover all your support staff, because typically as a franchisor, you need to have a certain amount of support staff helping get all these franchisees up and running.
Let me ask you a question though. Is that the only way a franchise makes money? Or, for instance, like McDonald's made money as a real estate play, right? Also, I think they make money selling the actual products to the franchise as well. So there's money made from owning a franchise,
Sure.
in besides just the royalty, right? And then there's also, in addition, you also have the collective advertising fund that people pay into, right? People have to put in X amount of dollars. I don't know if they clip some of that. I always wondered. I actually was in the franchise business many, many, many years ago. I bought some franchise. I wasn't the operator. I was fine. I was an investment banker, and I bought a chain of chicken and rib restaurants on the West Coast. And we bought it as a way of just whatever, you're using it as a vehicle to go public, and it was a disaster. And the thing that made it a disaster was that the franchise agreement was not structured correctly, and they weren't allowing the they didn't have the right to force the holders to pay a certain amount into advertising. And without that, it made it very difficult. So you had like some of the restaurants were struggling really badly. A couple were doing well. But are there multiple profit centers on franchises, or is it just I know there are new laws. Maybe they changed the law.
It depends on the franchise. So there's some businesses where they'll become the manufacturer. So not only are they making not 7-9% off of the top line.
They're
also
selling the product as
producing
well,
all
right?
the products.
Right. And as long as I guess their production would have to be in line with the normal markups in that industry, right? They can't be clipping them. 'Cause I'm sure it's in the franchise disclosure document that there's a conflict of interest. They sell themselves the product. They have to disclose what they're paying for it, what the manufacturing costs are, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of great franchisors, they're doing it. Yes, it's a profit center, but they did it also because it's an add-on they're doing value as well, right? So they figured out a way to do it cheaper or better. Like, I think about some of the brands that we work closely with.
Give an example.
Yeah, so a specific example I could think of is a company called Horsepower Brands. A friend of mine started that, Josh Skolnick. He started a tree service business, sold it for, tens and tens of millions of dollars to private equity, then went on to start
a tree service.
He started a tree franchise. It's the only tree service franchise.
Meaning cutting down trees?
Cutting down trees, yeah. A tree falls on your house. They take care of that. He got that to 275 territories and then sold that to private equity is big in our space right now. So he sold that, went out and started a company called Horsepower Brands, which is a bunch of franchise brands. Anyway, what he does is if they have a product or service inside their system that isn't working well, he doesn't like it. So he goes out and he actually starts another business to make it better for the franchisees. So in other words, if you and I were in business and we were in pool cleaning and I don't know, the cleaning products suck, instead of, dealing with it, he'll go out and he'll make a better cleaning product.
Sure.
And then he'll sell it. Yeah, he's making money, but he also solved the problem in the.
Got it.
Yeah.
So is that Horsepower one of your franchises?
Yeah, Horsepower.
2000, 2008, 2020. Listen, when it comes to the economy, those are some pretty scary years. .com crash, housing crash, and the roller coaster we're going through right now. One thing is certain. It's a dangerous time to not know your numbers. But over 31,000 businesses have the confidence and the clarity they need because they rely on NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, inventory, HR, planning, and budgeting so you can manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need all in one place. So, how do you prepare for uncertain times? The answer, NetSuite. NetSuite helps you identify rising costs, automate your business processes, and easily see where to save money. That's why 93% of customers say they improved their visibility and their control when they upgraded to NetSuite. What are you waiting for? Right now, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind flexible finance program. Head to netsuite.com/wolf right now. That's netsuite.com/wolf. That's netsuite.com/wolf.
Like a holding company. So they have multiple different brands within it. So this particular client, Josh, he figured out, hey, I know franchising and I can apply this, traction system that we follow. And maybe you're familiar with traction, but that's what we do in our company. But he applies that, he buys a business, he turns it into a franchise. They have maybe 6 or 7 brands that are all part of that one system. I brought him up only because I see that he actually goes out when there's a problem in the business and fix it. So it really, to answer your question, depends on the franchise. There's bad franchises out there. They're making all their money off franchise fees, meaning they sell, territory. They make 50,000.
Well, so what is let's go through it. So give me an example of so you gave me one, but give me one of an example of a very traditional franchise, not an FSO, that you would recommend to people. Like, what's an example of a good one?
Yeah, sure. You want to?
I love home service businesses. So water remediation, mold remediation, lawn care, something that a lot of times the executive that we're working with, they don't even have to work full time in the business. It's something where they can have a manager, have somebody kind of operating it for them. And I just think there's a huge demand for home services.
We have
they call that roustabout in like Texas.
What's it called?
Roustabout.
Roustabout?
I have a private client of mine, very nice young guy, very successful. I'm actually going to put you in touch with him. He's got a company in Texas that's growing like crazy called Residential Roustabout.
Okay.
Roustabout means home cleaning, tree stuff. Like they go and they help people, all sorts of home services. They do pretty well with it.
Yeah.
It's, the money's sometimes not in the sexy businesses. It's in the ugly ones.
Well, I mean, that's a business that you really got to fucking scale. Like it's a small dollars, but anything, listen, so is fucking cheeseburgers, small dollars, right? If you have enough of them, they're not so small anymore, right?
Yeah, and we tell our clients too, like, you're not going to do the day-to-day anyway. I don't care if you're in garbage cleaning business or there's poop
there's
you know,
picking up
scooping for, who
animal shit.
cares?
Let
You're
me ask you,
running.
okay, so wait, so in other words, so people listening understand. So my understanding of franchising is there's really two types of it. One is what you're saying, where you're building a business, you're not going to be doing the dirty work, so to speak, or the hands-on yourself, and you're more of a manager. The other type is where people like buy themselves a job. When like someone buys a Subway, and
Yeah,
it's like
right.
you're getting yourself a $60,000 salary, and I never really understood that, like why people would do that. But I guess it's hard for me to step into into the shoes of someone that's maybe uneducated, maybe they're just new to the country, they're living in the American dream, they got a green card, they're just gonna do this, and they don't give a shit, and they're gonna get 5 or 10 of them. Is that what happens?
So it definitely happens in franchising. What in specific to our business, that's what we try to avoid. What's really not our client. Our client is someone that wants a semi-absentee business, meaning
Got it.
they manage the people, they manage the process. Give you another
So
example.
you manage the process. So I'm trying to cut you off, but so in other words, what you're saying is that because I have a lot of people I bet that are listening would be interested in this, right? So in other words, when they come to you and you sell them a franchise, or I guess you'll assist them in the discovery process. You'll probably present them with multiple opportunities, see which one hits them the best, right? And then once they make that decision, do you then like hold their hand every step of the way and say, hey, we can help you find the right management, we can help you find employees, or no, you stop at the sale?
So currently, we stop at the sale. We
Okay.
stay in touch. That is a plan in the future. Additional services to help them. Right now, we just help them get into the franchise.
Okay.
But give you an example. Like another example, of something I never would have thought of when I think of franchises. We actually have a mental health franchise. Mental health is obviously growing.
Huge.
Needed.
Explain
right?
that to me.
Yeah, so it's a mental health franchise where they actually provide all the therapy services to people all over the country. You open a location, people come in, they provide the therapy, but it's done in a very scalable way. And so the owner actually, it's pretty cool. The owner can't work in the business legally because it's a medical business. So they hire a clinical director. They have to. They're literally not allowed to work in the office.
Yeah,
So,
it's very common in like legal world, medical world. Like you're limited on how you can get paid, but I guess there's not limits in pay, but just you can't interact with clients.
yeah, but so like to me, like that's the absolute proof of semi-absentee, right? You can't work in the business. So that in that example, you're providing services, you're managing the clinical director, you're out in the community building up, sales, but you're not providing therapy services. You're not doing the day-to-day.
Okay, and so in that, what type of money? Like give me the economics of it. So how much money do you need typically to start with? What's the downstroke?
So
And is there financing available?
yeah.
So I'd say our average client, we look for at least 100K liquid capital. Most of the time, you're going to have to pay at least the franchise fee down, which is, I'd say, average 50,000. But then to get an SBA loan, which most people do, you need 50K in post-close liquidity. So 50K for the franchise fee, they still have to have 50 afterwards, just kind of sitting in an account. So I'd say 100 is kind of the baseline.
So they all a lot of them take out SBA loans?
Yes, or 401K rollovers.
Yeah, the 401k rollover, anyone is listening that may not know what it is. So you can actually take your retirement funds and roll it forward tax deferred, penalty free into as long as you're buying a franchise business or a business in general. The government sees that as a investment into, just like you're buying into mutual funds, you're buying into your own company, into your own C corp. So a lot of our clients do a 401k rollover as a portion of their financing.
Any business or just a franchise?
I believe it's any business, as long as you can show a business plan and there's some technicalities to how do you do it, but yeah, you can do a 401k rollover, and then the SBA
IRA rollover or just 401k?
IRA too, retirement in general. Yeah, you have to not be working in the company anymore. In other words, you can't roll over the retirement that you have with the company. But if you're not working at a company, you can roll it forward. And we have a partner in funding that's more of an expert on it than us. But yeah, so most of our clients, they're doing. I mean, you buy anything, you usually get debt, right? You get a mortgage or a car loan. We're doing the same thing for our clients in businesses.
So the average franchise fee is $50,000, right? And then how much of the expenses? Their expenses on top of that to start the business, right?
Yes. So what's cool about franchise that I like is there's the FTD, which is franchise disclosure document. So basically, everyone needs to read it when they buy a franchise. You're making a big investment. So there's what's called Item 7. Gives you literally every single expense is broken down in Item 7. And that gives you literally down to like what, Red Bull will cost and what, this desk will cost. And
Being real. So what's the average? Like, give me an example. What do they typically call? I guess it's all over the place, right?
Yeah,
What's an average?
yeah, it's all over the place. But I mean, I'd say our average investment. So for us, remember, there's all kinds of franchises. We represent a specific niche that we found is the best for our clients. So we're finding like that 150 to 250 all in. A lot of the businesses, mental health business is more like higher end, but we're usually under $500,000 with all of our businesses.
Why would that be higher end? Because of physical locations?
Yeah, you're building out a physical location.
Okay. So what type of income opportunity comes on the other side of that?
Yeah, sure. So I have to preface because we're super regulated.
Sure,
in
I understand. I'm
franchising.
not saying guaranteed to make anything, but just by and large, without would it be outlandish to say that you buy a franchise for that's a franchise fee of $50,000, another $100,000 to get it off the ground, and that you can make $100,000 your first year?
So what happens is each franchise has what's called item 19, and they show you literally this is what you can make on average. Here's the top, the middle, and the bottom quartile. Sure. And yeah, we have businesses that can make that. We have businesses that can do much more.
Like what? What's like the highest you've seen for a franchise?
So in the item 19, I'd say we had a business that showed over 750,000 in profit in the item 19.
And that what type of business was that?
That was in the home services business too. Like it's actually a home services.
And how much
space.
was that downstroke?
I mean, it's funny. There's a franchise where you can get in for 150,000 service base. You don't have a physical location. There's people making close to $1 million in profit.
In the item 19.
In the item 19, correct.
That sounds like a good deal.
Absolutely.
What's cool?
So why wouldn't that just be like the hottest franchise ever?
Well, so what we do is I look at us in our business kind of like we find waves, right? So we go out there, we're all over the country, traveling to franchise conferences, meeting with founders of franchise. I have this whole podcast that talks to franchise founders to vet out who's a good fit. Mm-hmm. And out of the 500, we find 3 or 4 every year. Because I think you had asked that. We have 3 or 4 at any given time that we know has the right leadership team, the finances make sense. For us, I live in New York City. It's expensive. I'm used to wanting to make money. We have people that maybe are doing it for other reasons. We're looking for clients that they want to obviously have more freedom and they want to enjoy what they do, but they want to make money, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the business we try to find. And then you got to get in at the right time, right? You can't, if you get into Orange Theory right now, you miss the boat, right? It's already known. You got to get in before the markets sell. So, we help people with that. And then on that, what I see is people buy multiple territories. So they'll buy
to answer your question on why isn't everybody, it's not sexy. People want sexy.
What kind of business that you said?
Water and mold remediation.
Okay.
Like we might need it.
It's not, right. So that's the thing. It's not somebody going into business. They're not thinking, if we go and pump out basements, we're going to do really well. But there's a demand for it. There's always going to be a demand for home services.
Insurance, you need it,
exactly.
Right? You're calling them. You're calling your insurance company because you're not going to think about if you're, God forbid, your basement floods, right? Like you need to fix it.
And you're not chasing down to get paid. You have insurance covering it.
So we agree. I say to every client, we have over 500 brands that represent, narrowed it down to maybe 30 that we really like. I'm going to tell you the 3 that I tell everyone every day because truthfully, these are the best. And why don't we just skip to the best ones,
Yeah. And what are those 3, like right now?
So right now, I would say, and we differ a little bit on 1 or 2, but I would say the mental health business I was telling you about is it's exploding. I mean, they've awarded 400 territories. Actually, the private equity firm that bought my previous business just invested into them as well. Just because it's an incredible business. It's semi-absentee. It's mental health. It's a need. It's a service, and no one's ever done that before. There's never been a mental health franchise.
And that's the one that makes how much money a year? About.
So that one actually
was it line 19? You said?
Yeah,
item 19. So that one they actually don't have earnings claims. They just started last year, so they weren't able to produce a full year in it. So they actually can replicate. They have 16 corporate locations, so they can replicate with a client. This is how many offices. If you build a 10 office location and you have this many therapists and they can kind of replicate the figures, but legally they can't give exact figures. That one's a little bit tougher to answer for that franchise.
Got it.
Kind of like, that's the challenge with what we do. And we always have to be, candid with clients. We have to follow all the way that I think it's a little too regulated sometimes with the finances because it's hard to explain a business. You're buying a business, you want to understand the finances, but they got to make sure they monitor it.
So, do you guys advise companies that want to become franchises or no? Do you do any of that?
Yeah. So We do, not in a formal way, but our goal is to eventually to buy a business and franchise it and then bring it to market or to, yeah.
What makes a company a good franchise? Like what can you tell when something is franchisable?
Yeah.
What are the telltale signs that make something a good franchise?
Yeah, so we call it like our playbook on a franchise. So you got to have, not specifically in this order, but you got to have a great leadership team. So the founder or this if the founder's a little rough, then the executive team's got to be great, right? To steward the growth. They have to have capital to grow. You need, at least $500,000 in the franchise company to grow, to support opening all those new locations. Probably even more than that. The unit economics have to make sense, right? So each location, revenue-wise and profit-wise. Franchisees, if they have franchisees, if they're already franchised, you call up 10 of them and they're unhappy, that's not good, right? The franchisees have to be happy making money. And then it's got to have a USP, unique selling proposition. So they got to come to market something different. You can't be selling the same shit. You got to have something new. And then the markets, you got to have the right markets. And then it's got to be replicatable, right? So you can't say, well, we're successful here in Florida because everybody, it's John's pool business. Everyone loves John.
Sure, yeah.
It's got to be like in Nebraska, Michael who buys it can also succeed at it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And in terms of the individual that buys it, are there certain like personality types or skill sets they need, or can anyone basically, if it's an absentee game, can they, just put their money down and find someone? Like, what makes a friend? Like, do you have certain personalities that typically gravitate towards this, or you prefer to work with?
That's part of our process. So when we meet somebody, everybody's different. Personality type can make an impact on what brands I'm going to show them. If it's somebody who, maybe is more reserved, hasn't led a team, he might not be somebody who has to manage a team of people. He might be somebody more kind of that's able to be more out of the business, working on it, not necessarily in it. So it depends on all personalities welcome because there's a franchise for that.
Yeah, I would piggyback in saying that they have to have one of the skills. Either they have to be a strong leader or salesperson, or if they're not that, they can hire that, but they got to be a great operations person. If they're not either, like we have people come to us, they're like, I don't want to spend any money, I don't want to sell, I don't want to do anything.
Right.
We can't help you. But if you can either sell, then you get out and you sell, you bring in business. Like for me as CEO, that's always been my skill. I hire ops. Other people, they're great ops, they hire salespeople, right? So it depends on the person. But if they have neither of those skills, then they probably should just, keep working at their job.
All right, so anyone not know what that is? That's another sale on Shopify, the platform trusted by me and millions of other entrepreneurs to create their online store and so much more. That's right, even my website is with Shopify. Whether you're selling succulents or stilettos, start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. Shopify covers all the sales channels to successfully grow your business, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And thanks to 24/7, this is important by the way, support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is here to help you succeed every step of the way. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/wolf. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/wolf to start selling online today. Shopify.com/wolf. What's the downside of working with guys like you? Like, why would someone, I guess you can go direct, right? Just looking, I guess this USA, just franchise, Google, and you'll see 1,000 franchises. What do you guys do that makes your how do you get paid? I assume you get paid by what? The franchise pays you?
Yeah, so the franchise pays us out of the franchise fee. And what's kind of crazy, is, Jordan, is it doesn't cost any more or less to work with us. So if you buy a franchise through us or the same franchise without us, it's the same fee. I had looked at buying a franchise in my early 20s, and I went online, like you just said, there's 4,000. Every single company you apply to wants to, frankly, sell you their franchise. It's crazy. Like, it's overwhelming. And so I don't know how you could sit online and look through all that. It's a waste of time. We come in because we're able to limit, or mitigate all that time and just be able to get them right into the brands.
Got it. So it doesn't cost them anything to work with you?
No.
Nothing. Free service.
So sometimes I think people don't call us because they're like, "What's the catch?" But they're really think of us like a recruiter, right? Or you hire. We use a recruiter in our company to find great salespeople. I don't care about paying the fee because they bring us phenomenal people. That's going to bring it right. So the franchise is like, we'll pay you that. And we get paid decent money, but the reason that they do it is because one, we get them a great owner, and then two, they're going to be making royalty for 10, 20, 30 years off that franchisee. So the fee they pay us, they're actually happy to pay us. They want to wire us. And the client doesn't matter because it's not like it's more or less because they're with us.
So as a business, how do you find your clients? Do you advertise online on, what do you do? You cold call? What do you do?
We get on podcasts with Jordan Belfort. And we do everything. I mean, we got a machine, man. We got a lead generation machine. We have a call center. We have LinkedIn ads that we run. I'm not able, some of the things I can't do because it's previous business, but a lead gen is my skill. So we do Facebook ads, YouTube ads, call center, cold calling. We're one of the only businesses I think still cold calling, you know?
Really?
Well, we cold call thousands of people every single day, and no one's really cold calling. Like they do the robo calls, but who's actually making cold? I mean, you know how to do cold calls, obviously. So we're still doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people do you have cold calling?
We have 5, and then we use a predictive dialer. So they're able to just power through. It's kind of like, I mean, they're making 10 calls at a time.
So who would they? So they're calling who?
So we
A list of who?
mostly executive types.
Executives. So you're calling businesses, people out. You're calling people at business. Calling at home or at work, or how are you speaking to them?
Yeah. So what happened is, I have to be cautious because I'm not doing anything that my previous business did. But what we know is we buy data. I mean, there's data. You can buy data from data brokers, people that are in Texas that golf a lot. You know, there's correlations, right? If you golf a lot, you have some free time, you have some money typically. If you travel a lot, you know, if you're on an airplane, whether it's for pleasure or for work, probably have some expendable money. So we use data, and then we get names and numbers. And sorry to anyone that's listening that gets our calls, but we pester you. Not if anyone ever says no, we just they hang up. But we look at it like, you know, if there's all these boats fishing right now. They're all over here, we're over there, and there's no one with their fishing rods in the water because no one's making cold calls anymore. Right. So we actually do cold calls. And
how does it go well for you? I mean, how many people do you find like that?
So it's I think it's our best campaign. It's challenging because there's all these phone spam blocker and all these things, but I invested a lot of energy to get a technology that, you know, we're able to make so many calls. And just like the fishing analogy, you're eventually going to catch the big fish, right? So we rifle through a bunch of people.
Well, how do the numbers work on that? So how many people do you have to speak to until you find someone who's interested?
Well, it'll fascinate any listener. In my last business, there was similar. We would convert a fraction, like basis points of people. So we were communicating with thousands of people and only a fraction.
Well, at what level? What do you consider the first point of contact? The fraction of what?
So in that
not of dials, because that's just a huge number. Because the predictive dial is auto dialing for you.
Gotcha. So as far as people we talk to,
if you speak to 100 humans in a day, if you speak to 100 decision makers,
gotcha.
How does that go from there?
200, 1 in 200.
1 in 200 decision makers will buy.
Yes.
And how does that work out, though? So how many, out of 100 people you speak to, how many say, yeah, send me the information? Or how does that go?
Yeah. So out of 200 leads, we'll reach 30% of them.
Yeah.
Out of them, we'll convert, percentage of that. I want to say it's so out of 200 leads, we'll get 30 to 40 appointments, right? And then out of those 30 to 40, half will show, about 50% will show up. You know what I mean?
Is it online or are there webinars or in person?
Yeah, everything we do is on the computer with. We can do in person, but Zoom, yeah.
Zoom, yeah.
So this call qualifier talks to 40, gets 40 people to say yes, I want to talk to Derek or any of our other coaches.
Instead of an online, face-to-face appointment.
Yeah, and then 50% of those show up, and then out of those, 30% engage with the process, and then it goes on and on.
And you get 1 out of 200.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't care because we have a whole system. So it's 1 in 200 works for us.
Right. And 1 in 200. I mean, once it gets on a coach, that's for the actual lead generation. They're qualifying it before it ever gets to a coach. So that's even a different figure.
Right. The coach, the broker working with the candidate. Our sales team isn't talking to 200 people, right? They're only talking to maybe, I think it's 1 in 10 people that we put with
Got it,
brands
right.
buy.
So they get to that point, they're really serious about it. Then it's like a 1 in 10.
Yes. 1 in 10 of the ones that are talking to brands will buy. And we tell our clients, look, like, we're not going to push you because most people actually don't buy. 9 out of 10 people don't end up buying. Right. So we know that. One of them will, one won't. And we just have it. It's a numbers game for us. And that's what makes, I think, us different, because we're not, most people do this. They're one guy in their backyard making cold calls. Right. They're commission driven. We're a volume business. So we know some will buy and some won't.
Interesting. What's the, so in terms of like a franchise versus a regular business, I know you're saying the numbers are dramatically reversed, right? Like, so it's a 1 out of 10 if you're, trying to start yourself, 9 out of 10 if you're building a franchise or buying a franchise, right?
Yeah.
Are there some, for example, you mentioned like the home services industry, right? Are there other industries out there that that like are different, but that work, like nail salons or restaurants? Like, what about the ones, those types?
Yeah, so I would say that
yogurt shops.
I have a little trick, and it's kind of simple. My experience with my last business I sold to a private equity firm was, holy shit, these guys are way fucking smarter than me, the guys that work at those firms. And so I follow them. I follow what they're buying at the franchisor level. And we use that as a good indicator too, right? So, if a private equity firm is buying into a certain industry or space, there's something to be said about that space. And so we try to look at their trends, which we have some inside knowledge or some information to, and then we try to follow that. And yeah, so home services is giant. It's because it's such a cheaper investment, but everything in like the medical related, like taking care of, your face and hair and testosterone and, things like that. Those are also, we've got a concept that started here that does really well in health and wellness. Yeah.
What's that?
Health and wellness, just as a
whole. It's called Forever Young. They started actually here in Miami. The two guys, cool story. So they were just on like Shark Tank or Money Court. It's everything from, what's it called? Botox, hair transplant, testosterone, because that's not taboo anymore, right? Everyone's doing these types of things. So, we see private equity look at that, and then we'll gravitate toward those concepts.
Got it. So how about like the old fashioned, like what is does McDonald's still sell franchises, or no? They're flipping within, like there's no new ones being sold, right?
Yeah. You like McDonald's, you have to first of all, what people don't really like McDonald's, it's great, but you have to divest all your other interests. I'm not super familiar with this, but to my understanding is, because apparently someone listening knows better than me, but from my understanding, you have to divest from your other business. You can't be like a McDonald's owner and do 10 other things, right? And for me, I don't want to buy a business. That's a great business, McDonald's, but I don't want to buy a business for me that, unless I was really, really, really wealthy, that I'm controlled by what else I do. There's some franchises we have that actually in the FDD or in the franchise agreement, you don't own the ability to sell that business. That's not a business to me. In other words, every one of our clients that buys a franchise should be working towards exiting that business, because exiting is where the most money comes from. So, we try to avoid businesses that, I'm not saying McDonald's does that, but there are businesses that don't allow you to sell your business. They take it over after the term ends.
And a lot of the franchises you and most people know are not the best ones. If you look at SBA default rates, they're all the highest default rated businesses are all businesses
Like what? Like what?
Oh, I can't do that. It's
it's public information, right? What's like, what is it, like a Subway or something?
You got yourself in this hole. I don't know.
So there's some car services, a lot of oil change places.
Jiffy Lube.
Non-specifics. There are some restaurant concepts there. Me personally, unless it's I try to stay out of the food space, just because it's more risk. You have, so many small interactions with so many customers you have to do to make a profit. You need a physical location. COVID, if that happens again, something like that, your business is closed. Staff, it's to me, they can be great businesses, but I just try to stay away. If you can do something less risky, then let's go that route.
Food's great if you have a lot of money and you can do a lot of units. Like you see it with like Shaquille O'Neal as, like 100 locations of food. Food's great if you have the money to do multiple. But if you're like our clients, most of our clients, you're looking to replace your salary, make money, grow it to multiple units, and then sell it one day. We try to help them stay in that space.
What's your goal for your company? So you have a new company, right? And I know you've been in the business for a long time, but you got bought out. You're starting again, right? So what's your goal? Like, where do you see your company going over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, at the core, I love what we do. Help people become a business owner. It's I always joke, like, if I had 100 million in the bank right now, I would still do this. You know, I love it. You know, so I want to take this company to really be the household name when it comes to buying a franchise. You want to buy a franchise, you work with Franchise Playbook. We're working out a way to do that obviously still respects my old company and the private equity firm that bought that. We're working together. We're working towards working together. But I just know that we have the ability to help hundreds of people every year buy a franchise, be successful, sell that business, refer us more. We want to be the household name for that.
Do most people that buy one franchise buy a second one, a third one? What's the?
Yeah, our clients buy typically two not different businesses. Two. I don't advise buying 2 or 3 businesses at once unless you're sophisticated and you've owned businesses before. If you're just starting out your first business, buy one business, one concept.
But territories. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
buying multiple territories, most people. So whether that be if it's a physical location, obviously you're getting physical locations. If it's something where it's a service-based industry, it's a population-based. So rather than getting 150,000, you can buy 300,000, 450, and just buy multiple territories.
In population, meaning 400,
Right,
territory,
right.
meaning like there's
150,000
100,000 people. This is your area you're allowed to operate in.
Right.
Or you can be in 200,000, and that's 2 territories. Most of our clients buy 2 territories.
Got it.
And then come back and buy other businesses, yes, but we don't recommend doing it all at once.
Why is that? Just perfect one thing at a time, basically.
Yeah, like do one thing really well. Get really great at it. Hire your team. I think businesses. So what I've learned is, and I would love to get some of your insight on this because I think these are great questions. We want to learn about you too. I think it's easier to run a bigger business than it is a small business.
That's for sure.
Right? I mean, what's your experience in?
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, this is like let's just say there's a really small business, which is easy to run. Then there's a big business, which is easy to run. What's difficult to run is like a 12, 15 man operation because number one, you typically don't have enough depth in each department. So every one person matters. People they realize that. So like the inmates are ruling the asylum, basically. Also you don't have the ability to attract great people when if you're not like, there's a part of the process of getting great talent is selling them the dream about we're a growing company and we're going places. Then great people want to work for you because they want to grow with your company. So if you're a small, stagnant company, it's just very difficult to get great people, right? And also just like, you like when you're very small, you're like, you're wearing like 10 fucking hats, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the death zone is the middle, is like 10, 12 people. Well, I think when you get above like 30 or 40 people, it starts to get, if you know what you're doing and you know how to delegate authority and you have a well-organized operation, it can get pretty easy. I had a business, I had business with thousands of employees and it was so fucking, they never even go. I just started a business last week and I haven't been there. It's like, and it's running great.
You're saying now.
Like last week I had some fucking business started,
Do you know what it is? Or?
But like, it's growing and recruiting. I don't know what they're doing, but I got a great manager there. And, it's very easy. But I think the issue that people have that have never been in business before is they tend to overcomplicate it. They tend to overcomplicate it and not worry about the right things. They worry about the wrong things, right? So I think it's that's why I like franchises. The problem is a lot of them suck. If you get a good one, right, then it's really good. But a lot of them they're just they're mediocre opportunities. Which I think why you guys have a good idea because you're sort of cutting through a lot of the bullshit out there and trying to find the ones that really make sense, right? So, but yeah, I definitely think owning a big business is easier than owning a small business. But you have to, all big businesses start off being small.
Yeah.
Like they get there. Like, they don't just like, you're born a big business. Microsoft or Facebook was one guy to start off, right? And then, they grow. You hit a certain phase. Like, I think once you hit a certain phase of a business, it is really easy to grow and scale. the hardest part of a business, I believe, is getting traction. Is that phase of going from, and here's what another reason why I think franchises make sense, because a lot of things, and I've experienced this myself, they make sense on paper, but they don't quite play out in the real world as great as you would think. So you have this great business idea, and it looks good, the margins are good, the market's huge, there's a need there. But whatever it is, when you try to actually execute on, there's something about the model that doesn't let it really make money the way it should. So I think if you could find a franchise that really that's been proven to have scalability, I think that's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Franchise owners are different than maybe even like I actually am not a great franchise owner. I don't know. I need to start the thing and make the process. I like to go into the unknown, and some people don't want to do that. It's funny because for our business, we're as startup as can be. I sold my business in May, and I think it was on a Friday, and then on Saturday I started thinking about the next business. But
where are you guys from, by the way? New York?
I'm from Massachusetts.
New Jersey originally. I live in New York now.
Where in Jersey you from?
Central Jersey, South Brunswick.
Okay.
Near Rutgers and Princeton.
Got it.
And then live in the West Village in New York City.
So what were you guys like when you were younger? Like, would you guys go to college?
So that's a good story.
I went twice.
Twice.
Yeah. Didn't make it.
Twice.
Yeah, didn't make it either. Anyway, around 21, Derek and I worked at the same company doing sales, and honestly, like watched your videos, Straight Line, and just studied it and became like sales maniacs at that company. We were 21.
What kind of business was that?
We sold. It was a marketing company that sold photo shoots. So people that want to get into photo shoot, composite card, headshots, all of that.
Okay.
We were the people doing the sales for that. I kid you not, we worked every Saturday and Sunday. 21 years old, you're still going out doing your thing. We didn't miss a Saturday or Sunday for an entire year. Like you worked Saturday and Sunday every day.
Mostly women or men? Or,
Both. Yeah. It was a great business, but it taught us a lot about, just marketing and sales and how to build up a business. That business had, doing like 50 million in revenue. So it was CEO, became friends. We learned from him. Anyway, so that company we ended up leaving. Derek went on to, well, you can tell your story, but he owned a car dealership. I went on to start this space, and then that's it. That's all I know. I don't know any other business. I've only done this.
Well, I didn't technically own a car dealership. I had plans to own it. I had a percentage, but the deal kind of never went through.
What kind of car dealership?
Used cars, off lease. So most of our cars were 2-3 years old max, less than 30,000 miles. Imports, mostly imports, German, and then the Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura.
Got it.
And then Dan had been trying to get me into franchising for a long time, and I was like, I kind of had this business, so I was focusing on that, and then I decided to leave that business and came to franchising.
Basically, if you meet me, you end up in my recruiting funnel for the rest of your life. There's people I reach out to every 6 months, saying you're going to work with me eventually. So Derek eventually got Derek to join the team, and then we had the transaction and started this business, and Derek was able to come with me to start this out of nothing. We just but we got a great team now. Kind of probably not at the level you're at, but like we hired, director of ops, director of marketing, a CFO, so that I can focus on like just relationships really,
Sure. No, I have a very small, my business is different because I have a small business because I don't like, how do I explain? So I have businesses that have lots of employees. I own businesses that have lots of employees, but I don't I'm just a shareholder.
Right.
You know what I mean? My own business. I've gotten my business down really, really lean right now. I'm also in the process of writing a book. So I've been working on a book for like the last 6 months, which has been like taking up all my time. Which is, oh my God, it's crazy. I hate writing. Writing's a terror. I am not a happy writer, but when every time I've written a book, it's always, ended up being very, very rewarding experience after I'm done writing. So this particular book is, I'm about 2 weeks away from, 2.5 weeks away from finishing after a long time. Yeah. So I've been kind of isolating, just finishing the book,
How does that work? Do you just go into a room and lock the door and write for an hour? Or?
I write about 18 hours a day.
Really?
Yeah.
You just write all day?
Write all day.
Wow.
Damn.
All day long.
Like you wake up, get a coffee.
6 o'clock in the morning, start writing, write straight to 7 o'clock at night. My wife, we'll maybe watch TV for a couple hours at night, and she's here and whatever. And then, but I'm working. When I'm writing, I am like literally, it's like full on every morning, 6 a.m. Yeah,
and then just that's it.
That's
and
it.
You've been doing that.
Well, except I have to I get hired to do speeches and I do consulting and I have some obligations, but by and large, like right now, but I'm in the crunch right now. So listen, I have a great publisher who I love. Simon & Schuster is my publisher, and they paid me a lot of money to write this book, and then I didn't write it. Like they gave me a big I knew I hate writing. So one of the things I think is a good way to get yourself to do shit that you don't like to do is like I took a check, knowing if I took the check, I have to write the book.
Right.
Right. So they wrote me a big check, and like I would have never done it unless I was backed into a corner. Right.
Yeah.
But I knew it was a very important book. It's a book on how to make money in the stock market. Right. Yeah. I know it's going to be a huge bestseller, I assume. Right. And I was going to try to use a ghostwriter, and I have a very distinct voice when I write. So anyway, so after about a year, like I hadn't even started. I just couldn't bring myself to write it, So I was like, fuck it, I called my manager, my book agent, and I said, I'm going to give them back the money. I can't do this. I can't fucking write. There's no fucking price. There's not enough money they can pay me. And they pay me a lot. I'm talking a lot of money, right? Not like $50,000, a lot of money, right? Yeah. She says, no, I'm going to call the publisher. And they're very nice. My last book did kill it with them, right? They're like, no, we'll give you another year, right? Just write the book. Come on, do it, right? So like whatever, I delayed for another 6 months, and then like I just couldn't get started with it. I tried a few times, I hated it, And then I started writing, and I just hit a couple of pages. I'm like, fuck, I'm like, that I like. Yeah. And I finally hit like on this sort of idea of how I'd write the book. And once I started, then I wrote about 15 pages,
One day.
No. That took me like a month to do 15 pages. In the beginning, it's very hard to write the way I write. It's not like just writing. It's like I'm really trying to structure a story. Yeah. So I wrote 15 pages, and then I sent them to the publisher and said, hey, if you like these, then like, they're like, oh, if they're fucking, they love them. They said, these are great. These are perfect. We'll give you how much time do you need to write the whole book? Yeah. So I was like, all right. And then I delayed again. And finally I said, fuck it. I ran out of time. So my book is due in like October 15th. So I like literally for the last 2 months, I've been literally like every fucking second I'm writing this book, And it's coming out great, but it's just a grind. And once I'm done with that, that's why I've been very inactive on social media. I've been like doing nothing. I've been like literally everything you see is my team recycling old shit right now because they can't even talk to me. I did this for you guys. Like I'm really not doing anything right now. So I've been missing podcasts. I didn't take my podcast seriously. Well, I'm gonna really once this book is out, like it's gonna be a massive. I hope it'll be a massive book, and I'm gonna get my PR machine. I have I'm starting to film a docuseries. So I have a major director Michael Bay involved, so which is great, and so it's exciting. But you guys, for you, what's your goal? Where do you see yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah,
where do you want to be?
Yeah, so we want to be helping, a good percentage of the market of buyers, people that want to buy a franchise. Like I said, we're the household name. You work with us, we're doing a volume of that. And I think, the main goal is we're going to buy a business that we feel is the best franchise we've ever seen or best business. We're going to franchise it. We're going to bring it to market and, be a franchisor because it's a very unique skill set to be able to find franchisees, right? That's something that all these franchisors they pay us to do. Right. So our goal is eventually, so if you're listening and you got a great business and maybe you don't want to, you don't want to own it anymore, we'll buy it and we'll turn it into a franchise or we'll stay on with us and take it from one location to a national wide company. That's our goals, to be a franchisor. Yeah.
All right. So how do people, they want to find out more? How should people contact you? You have a website or what social media? How do they?
Yeah, sure. So we have a website that, in development, super new company, www.franchiseplaybook.com.
So franchise playbook.com.
Yeah. I would say though, like what I've done anytime I've done something, this is LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn because then I can actually see it and I'll respond to any person. Dan Claps.
Is that C or K?
C.
CLAPPS?
Just one P.
One P. You got the clap?
Yeah. Yeah. From the modeling business.
Dan Claps.
Yeah, Dan Claps. LinkedIn, if they message me, I'll respond to everybody.
Right. So anybody that's basically, what's your perfect demographic? You
Somebody
don't
that's-
just anybody you'll take, right? But
Yeah, somebody that wants that they're managing somebody else's business. They want to own their own business, and we'll help them find the right business to buy. Or someone that maybe wants to, they want to franchise their business, but they need the help to get it to market. We'll partner with them and buy. We'll even invest and buy into it to take it to market.
good deal. All right, well, guys, listen, everyone, check this out. Listen, you know where I stand. I believe that if you don't own your own business, unless you're in a certain industry like in financial services, I really think it's very difficult to secure a financial future for yourself when you're working for a paycheck. So I'm a big believer in this. So check it out, Franchise Playbook, and I will see you guys again. Hopefully we finish with this book soon, and I'm going to really start putting a lot more attention into my podcast and other things as well. I got a great, exciting 2023 coming once I finish this book. So everyone have a great day.